Update!
Update! Last night, somebody broke in and stole over $500 worth of shit from my place! That's right! $500 worth of bullshit!
Actually, the update I have is not about the car. We're going to get to that in a second. In the last video, I had mentioned that the neighbor lady flagged me down, said they were having a party, and I wasn't sure about it. I showed up. You invite Jay to a party and there's free beer. I mean, Jay's going to be at the party. I had a nice time. Can't really complain. I kind of curbed the drinking a little bit. I had some other stuff I still needed to take care of. So that's all good. And that brings us to the update on the Big Six. I mean the Big Sick. And the update on the Big Sick is as follows. I fucked up. I was wrong. It happens. Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe I don't understand how it works. But I went over to XJoe81X today to refresh everyone's memory. He has a 2010 Camry V6, exactly the identical drivetrain, identical engine, identical transmission, identical alternator. And put the meter on that, full chooch, full electrical load, the whole thing, after running for 15 minutes, 13.2. So there you go. It's absolutely confirmed. There is nothing wrong with the vehicle. I was wrong all along. Let's face it, folks. It's a Toyota. What breaks on a fucking Toyota? There was nothing wrong with the car. Absolutely nothing wrong with the car. If three vehicles, all by the same manufacturer, two with identical drivetrains, exhibit exactly the same symptoms, the likelihood of all three cars having bad alternators at the same time is what happens when Alex Trebek has a picture of a giraffe up his ass during an earthquake.
It's what happens when Alex Trebek has a picture of a giraffe in his ass during an earthquake.
There is nothing wrong with the car at all. The problem is this never-last battery. The problem is this never-last battery. It didn't last, and the battery isn't even the problem. So here's an interesting thing. For the last, I don't know how many months, well, I'll give it to you this way, okay? Back in 2022, I replaced this battery, and it has a sticker that says 722. I installed it of 8 of 22, so August 2022. I have had a persistent problem with this car where when I would go to start it, I would get that check VSC system message on the display. It would only be up there on the first start of the day, right when it starts. For 1 second, it would go out, and there were no problems from then on, and everything was perfectly fine. When I replaced that battery, because the old one just gave up, they give out, you replace them. I got a new one. For about a year, I was not getting that message. So I said, oh, I guess that old battery was really bad. Well, it wasn't exactly that. See, the problem now is being retarded. I don't go anywhere because I don't really need to. I don't have to punch a clock. I don't have to do 9 to 5s. I make my own hours. I do what I want when I want. And the likelihood of me going out, I might go out once a week. Maybe. The car sits and it does nothing. And then when I go, it might only be a 5-mile round trip. That's not good. That's not good for the battery. I had put the tester on there, and I showed you in the previous video, link of course in the prescription. The battery energy said 0, but it still was enough to start the car. You all saw it. Well, no, you didn't, but it started the car. It was slow to crank when Lex was here. dirt on it. Why don't you tell me that? When Lex was here, it cranked slow, but it started, and then we had these problems in that, but it has been cranking slow because I don't go anywhere, and the battery gets run down in that. And then I charged it up in that. So I have not driven the car since I have charged it. Yesterday, previous video that I recorded, I started it. It started perfectly, but I did not take note of the dashboard to see if that message came up. Well, today, when I left for XJO81X, it started up perfectly, and there was no check VSC message at all. So that means that this battery was so run down to the point where it still had enough to crank the engine up and had enough voltage to run the electronics on there to get the cylinders firing, and the car runs. Then the alternator takes over as soon as the car, vroom, you know, and it takes half a second to get the voltage. So that might have been that low voltage symptom that tripped the VSC message on the display. And then the car says, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know what just happened. No, you don't have a VSC problem. Everything's fine. And it would go away. Well, now it showed up while driving because the battery had just gotten down so low that the voltage wasn't there. Now, the question is, why does the alternator run way down to 13.2 and all that? Well, there's a couple of factors at play. The first is, that was all at idle. When the car revs up in normal driving, you're going to get more voltage than that. But I think basically what I was seeing is 14 volts solid when it starts is topping up the surface charge that was just used to run the starter motor to start the engine. So now the alternator says, oh, okay, this battery's down, let's put some juice into it. It's got to get up there. And then, of course, as the car runs, it warms up, the engine slows down to its normal idle, and you're not charging that much at idle speed. The idea is to not just start a car and leave it sit in your driveway and hope that it charges up. It doesn't. No, you got to drive it for that, and the limited amount of driving that I did wasn't enough to recoup starting the engine. So in other words, when I would get to the grocery store in just a couple of minutes, this might have been putting out 13.7, which is not bad. And then you shut it off so it cools off a bit, and then start it back up. It might be at 13.8, probably still 13.7, and by the time I get home it's down to 13.2, because it doesn't expect that the battery is running down. The car has no way of really knowing that. Newer cars, yes, they have all kinds of crazy stuff like that and can alert you to that, but this doesn't have that, and quite frankly, no car really needs that. It's just a battery. It could be any car. I don't care what brand. So that was the entire problem the whole time. It was just the battery being run down, and putting the charger on this and leaving it for 8 hours or whatever it ran for, charged it up almost all the way. And now, magically, not only did I have no problem going to Joe and back, which is a good 2 miles, where I had a problem when Lex was here. After I reset the codes, it came back within 2 miles. But secondly, the check VSC message when the engine is first started is also gone. And that hasn't happened for 2 years now. Now, back in December of 2024, I put the charger on here, but I didn't leave it for that long. I left it for maybe 4 hours. It charged up to, I don't know, 70% something. I didn't, I didn't put my all into it and whatever. It was cold. There was still snow and ice and stuff out. So I left it for that and hoped that would be, it wasn't. So now, after a real good charge, everything's fine. And like I said, for 3 cars, to be exhibiting exactly the same symptom at the same time, all in a locus? How do you call it? In a very small community as such. For this car, Ginger and Joe's only a mile away. How can three possibly have the exact same problem? So it is absolutely confirmed that I was wrong, and I had doubted this logo. Big mistake on my part. I'm a big enough man to admit when I was wrong, and indeed I was completely wrong on this. The right thing to do at this point, since I already bought the alternator, is to send the alternator back. No, the right thing to do is actually keep it. And I think as punishment for my being wrong with this, because I'm almost never wrong, I ought to keep it. And it wouldn't be a bad thing to have. Again, I can install it myself, even with Joe. But there are 2, maybe even 3, potentially even 4 vehicles that alternator would fit in, again, this same little tight-knit thing of Toyotas there. So the part is on hand should anyone need it. Okay, so that really is the right thing to do, and I think is really the best thing, the best action here, and the best way to go about it. The belt would be good to put on here because it squeaks and it's 90,000 miles and that. So I could still do that. I'm certainly not sending the belt back because that snaps on the road. I mean, it can be done on the side of the road if it had to be. So definitely not sending that back, and I should just keep the alternator and be done with it. The good news, at least, is now I do not have to pay labor to Julio. So I ended up saving quite a bit of money in that regard because it's not something that I can do myself. So all around, this ended up working out quite well. I have an extra alternator laying around. If anybody needs one, sell it to you. But other than that, I'll hang on to it and that. So yeah, that's the deal. There's nothing wrong with the car. The problem was me. The problem is the type of driving and style of driving I do, which is not much, coupled with the fact of a shitty Neverlast battery. It just is. Next battery will not be a Neverlast. Maybe a Never Start. I don't know. Whatever names they have on them. So it's definitely not going to be one of them. That much I can tell you for sure. I've had very mixed results with these Neverlast batteries from AutoZone. I had one that only made it 2 years and was actually still under warranty. That really shouldn't. It can happen, but it really shouldn't. You know? And let's face it also, again, Toyota, right? Okay. When you go to start this, it fires. It's done. It's a done deal. It's reliable. It's not like the Buick where you got to crank for 10 minutes just to get it to run, only to have it stall as soon as you put it in gear. It's not like that anymore. Cars are fuel injected now. They're a lot more reliable as far as that goes. And pretty much, it doesn't matter what kind of car you have. Chances are very good, everything else being in working order, you turn the key, it fires the first time. If you still have a manual key and you have to hold the key to crank it and you don't hold it long enough, well, that's not the car's fault. That's your fault. So they're much more reliable in that regard. So batteries actually last longer today than they did years ago. Although years ago, they wouldn't necessarily regulate the voltage down and the current down as much. And the older cars like the Buick, I would have to put a meter on that and see what it reads, you know, after it's all warmed up. That might be a nice thing to see, but the bottom line is that they didn't have the kind of circuit, like this alternator's got a 4-pin connector on it. For what? You need an exciter wire and a wire to go to the battery, and it's grounded through the frame. What else do you fucking need? That's all you need for an alternator. That's it. To make it work. But it's got a 4-pin connector. It talks to the computer. It does stuff. I don't know. And apparently Toyota found that it can go down to 13.2 and that's acceptable. And under normal conditions, going to work 5 days a week, when I was going to Tiny Middle, I used to drive this. It was 15 miles each way, 16 miles each way. So it was 32 miles a day. Guaranteed the battery would charge up. And yeah, I did have the battery in Old Clanky go dead once, but it was old. That's not the car's fault. And chances are very good if Old Clanky were still around, or even the WIF's 2000 Camry, it probably would be reading that same 13.2. So it's normal on these vehicles and would be under regular, normal driving conditions. I don't fit that criteria, and thus I end up in this boat. So that's it. I was wrong. The car was right all along. Nothing wrong with it at all. I mistrusted you, the Big Six. I'm very sorry. Thank you for all of your service and your continued service. You've done me well, girl, and I'm sure you'll be around for a long time to come. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.